What's up, everybody? Welcome to Play and Trade TV. We're coming to you live on the net at pnttv.com. My name is Mark. And Chris, how are you, man?
What's up, Mark? I'm glad I did my laundry because these games scare the you-know-what out of me, if you know what I mean.
Awesome. Well, coming up on the show this week, we're going to be chatting about F.E.A.R 3, and later on in the show, I'm going to introduce you to my future home, a little place I like to call Skyrim.
Yeah, and you're not joking. That literally could be your home away from home.
Oh, no. Not that it could be. It will be.
It is, and it will be.
Yeah. So let's jump into our game of the week here. It is F.E.A.R 3, and it's brought to us by Day One Studios. It's going to be published by Warner Brothers Games, and it's available on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. It's available now. And Chris, you are a huge fan of the survival horror and shooter genre. This game's got to be right up your alley, right?
It's right up my alley. And the best thing about horror games for me, I don't know why, I like being scared, and it's just some weird thing that I have. And with games, a lot of games say they're scary, and they are, but you always see like these weird aliens and things like that. This game is genuinely creepy.
It's frightening.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's the whole paranormal thing for me. It's just it really terrifies you. You really have to rethink if you really want to play this game in the dark or not, or during the day. Like, you have to pick and choose when you want to play this game. You will be scared playing this game without a doubt.
I think one of the coolest things they've done with this game, and we could go into the lore of F.E.A.R if you want us to, but we would be here for hours getting into this game. I mean, if you haven't played F.E.A.R 1 or F.E.A.R 2, I'm not even going to begin to explain the game to you because there's a lot going on under the hood in this game. But essentially, this game, you play as Point Man, and if you play co-op, you play with your brother, Paxton Fettel, who really was the enemy in the very first game. And one of the cool things they've done with this is, unlike other survival horror games like a Dead Space that kind of has those monster closets where the monsters and the enemies kind of come from the same places every time, they have something in this game called a generative scare system. So as you progress through it, either in single player or even in co-op, it's almost different every time. Kind of like Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead did that.
Yep.
So you may play it by yourself and think, oh, okay, well, I know what happens here. But when you play with somebody playing as Fettel along with you, you may see different enemies, or just enemies running on the windows, or dead bodies hanging from the ceiling. I mean, and this is one of those games too, where it's not always things just jumping out. Like, you never know what you see, if it's real or not real.
Yeah,
you know?
I know, and that's part of the storyline. And it's just cool that you get to play as Fettel now this time around.
Yeah,
you know, that is good. Really,
he's a ghost. You play as a ghost.
You play as a ghost. And that's awesome. I mean, it has like this whole like Fringe. I don't know if anybody watches Fringe out there, but there's whole like alternate reality, and you don't know what's real and what's real, like Mark said. But it's just, I can't wait to play as him. It's just, even when you play as him, I remember playing it at E3 last year, and when you switch between the two of you, which if I remember correctly, you can do that whenever you want.
Yeah, I think so.
And when you do that, like, the whole screen just kind of has a red tinge
changes,
to it.
yeah.
You know, when you're back as Point Man, it's got like the regular, you know, reality tinge to it. So the aesthetics of the game look phenomenal, and I really want to see where, like, how that controls, and I just really want to see how the story progresses, because the story is a fantastic story, and I'd like that alternate reality.
And I mean, what's neat about Fettel too is, like we said, he's a ghost, and he has these supernatural powers, and you can play that route and just stay Fettel, or he can possess AI bodies. So if you want to play as a shooter, you just possess an enemy or soldier, and then you have a gun in your hands, and you are that guy.
Exactly.
That's neat.
Awesome.
And you know, it's cool to see that, where if you play as Point Man, and not to say it's bad to play as Point Man, but it's just a typical run-of-the-mill shooter. Right. So, and what's neat what they did this time with this game is, a lot of shooters, and I'm not even going to say a lot, every shooter has deathmatch. Instead of that, they took a step back and said, you know what, we need to differentiate this game from every other shooter out there. And what they did was essentially come up with 4 co-op modes. And the multiplayer is really what excites me with this game. And they have one of the coolest modes, I think, that I've ever seen in a shooter. And I can't say the name of this mode on the show.
We just call it the Fog. We'll call it the Fog.
Well, no, I'm going to give you just a little bit so you can get it. It's called F.E.A.R Run is the name of this mode. And you and 3 other buddies play 4-player co-op. And there's this endless wall, and it's a fog, like Chris said. And it's constantly coming at you. And the developers are calling it the Wall of Death. And you just need to run through waves of enemies that are coming at you, but you literally need to run forward and progress to the end of the stage. And if one of your allies falls, you have to help them back up. But if you don't, then it's over.
Then you're done.
So everybody needs to work together. That is such a unique take on multiplayer.
Yeah, I like new takes on multiplayer, because, like they said, everybody has deathmatch now. And what are they going to bring to the table that is going to overtake, the Call of Duties and Halos and Halo's not really a death match, but you know what I mean? There's established death matches.
Right.
So it's going to be tough for them to tap into that market. So they had to come up with something new. Yep. And this is fantastic. This is like Assassin's Creed when they came out with
that's exactly what I thought of.
Like the hide and seek mode we were calling it. I don't really know I can't remember what they called it, but that's exactly, it was fresh. It was new. Like you wanted to play it. And that's exactly what this mode is. They did a good job. They had a really good creation here. I'm excited to check that out.
I mean, they basically took what makes F.E.A.R great and said, you know what, that's what we need to put into our multiplayer. And then there's 3 other modes. One where it's kind of like your typical zombies mode that's in like Call of Duty, where it's just endless waves of guys and you upgrade your weapons as you go on. And then there's 2 other modes where I want to say zombies again, but it's one guy is a zombie essentially, or a specter as they call it. And then you need to infect the other 3. And then in the other mode, everybody starts as a specter. And then you need to, like F.E.A.R does, take over AI bodies to go and kill the other specters.
Yeah.
So
I like when games think about their multiplayer and not just say here's a death match and King of the Hill or whatever and go for it. Like they put some time and effort into this, and they thought, what can we do different? And I think they hit a home run here. I can't wait to check that out.
So check out F.E.A.R 3. It's available now in all the Play and Trade stores. Again, it's available on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. So check it out. Well, Chris, let's take a break. And like I said, after the break here, we will be delving into the world of Skyrim. So we'll be back right after this.
The first time I saw you, I knew we'd be linked forever. For you, I traveled to the 4 corners of the world. I faced adversity. I became a hero.
Dad.
I saved your kingdom.
Dad.
Yes, Zelda?
Are you mixing me up with the princess again?
Hard to say. You're both pretty magical.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
All right, so welcome back. And like we said before the break, we are going to be diving into the world of Skyrim. And we got a question from Steven in Lake Mary, Florida. And he says, Dear Play and Trade TV, I loved your E3 coverage from last week, but I need more info on Skyrim. Did you see it, and how epic did it look?
I don't know if there's
Keep up the good work. I love the show.
Time in the day to talk about all the stuff in Skyrim, but...
Well, did we see Skyrim?
One of us did.
I did.
One
this
wasn't
guy
me.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we missed our appointment, so we weren't all able to get into it, and they just kind of snuck me in. You know what? There was like a lockdown on Skyrim. I mean, Bethesda had, I think it was a 70 to 80 person theater set up. And they had tickets, full-on tickets, like actually printed up very nice looking tickets, and they weren't letting people stand in that room. You had to have a ticket to get into the room where you weren't seeing Skyrim. And it was nowhere else on the floor.
You were texting, you were texting me. I was on the outside. You're like, there's not enough people in here. You can come back.
Yeah.
When did that fill up then?
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody came back with their nice little pre-printed Skyrim tickets and got in. And nice. I can't stress enough how great this game is going to be. I mean, obviously it's an Elder Scrolls game, so those games are huge, hours and hours of gameplay within them. But the changes that they've made from Oblivion are going to make this game so much better. I mean, the whole menu system in terms of equipping your items and equipping your spells. I mean, you can now dual wield, and I guess the best way to equate it to is BioShock 2. In the first BioShock, you had your plasmids and your weapons, but you could do one or the other. In BioShock 2, you could equip both. You could have a plasmid in your left hand, gun in your right hand, and use them together. And in this game, you can do that. So you can be either healing yourself on the left and shooting, or
that's cool.
They even showed at one point he had 2 fire spells on each hand, and by using them together, it created a bigger spell.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I heard that. I heard that they really improved the menu system more than anything, because I've recently got into Oblivion and fell in love with it instantly. And not that the menu system was annoying to me. It was just kind of like, didn't seem like it flowed well.
It takes you out of the game every time you do it.
Yeah, which isn't, nobody wants to do that anymore. You know? So when they said that, they put a big emphasis on the menu, I thought that was a hit. That I think that was something they needed to do, and they supposedly did it from what you're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, even just the map. And I mean, I laughed when we talked about Dirt 3, we talked about how great, like the loadings, what was it? The menu looked?
Yeah.
This game has the best map ever. I mean, think of like a Google Maps where it's like topical. And I mean, the game literally zooms out and
you
see the whole
view?
world. You can go all over the place, and then when you want to go back down, it brings you right back to your character, and it looks awesome, man. Like it's so cool. And one of the cool things too in the demo, it was about a 45-minute demo too, which was awesome. So we got to see a lot of the game. Is he came upon this town, and in the town, everybody is just going along with their everyday life. And in the previous games, the people did that, but they still kind of stayed in one area. Where the town he went into was this logging town, and there was a guy who was taking logs and basically splitting them in half, and that's that town's economy. And the guy demoing the game basically said, well, you can go and just burn all those logs and just destroy the whole town.
Kill that town.
If you want to do that. How great is that? I mean, it's terrible to do that.
It's terrible. Yeah, why would that be great?
You can do it. But you can do it if you want, man. I mean,
wow, that's
crazy.
Yeah, and then what does that do? I mean, obviously you get a negative feedback on that,
and I'm sure
right?
if there's quest givers in that town, you can't go to them.
You can't go to that, right?
They're dying because they have
no
food to eat.
There's about 150 caves or dungeons.
Yep.
Wow. That is huge.
And we got to see, actually, the big thing with this game is the dragons. Dragons are back in this game, and you're battling dragons. Yeah. And there was an initial dragon that he encountered, but he was able to get into one of these dungeons. He progressed through the dungeon. And when he came out on the other side, he encountered this dragon again, because the dragon was kind of waiting for him to come out on the other side. And the battle with the dragons are awesome. And one of the things, too, there's not only spells in this game, there's things called dragon shouts. And when you kill a dragon, you kind of absorb its soul and get a power from it. And when he killed this one dragon, a second dragon came right after that, which was bigger than the last one, much harder than the last. And he used this dragon shout to bring in a full-on thunderstorm. That it was like a fire dragon, so it obviously, hindered the dragon's ability to shoot the fire in that. And I was kind of laughing when he would use this dragon shout. It sounded like, if anybody's ever played Mutant League football or Mutant League hockey on the Sega Genesis, when they're like, blah, blah. Like that's what it sounded like. He goes, blah, and then bam, this big thunderstorm comes out of nowhere, and it was just so cool to see that. And that was on top of his regular spells. Right. So
I haven't had a good dragon fight in a long time.
you like dragon fights, Chris?
I do. I'm looking forward to a good dragon fight. I had my Harry Potter moment in a long time, so I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
I hope, Steven, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of info here. There is a lot of info.
That's what I mean.
Into Skyrim.
There's so much to absorb in this game. It's impossible to get through it in a little 6-minute segment we got going here. But
right. But we're obviously going to be covering this game much more. It's going to be one of the biggest games of the fall.
It's huge.
And this is a game that we're going to be playing long after 11/11/11 because
it's within the November to remember of just crazy games that are coming out. And this probably, for a lot of people, is going to be the #1 game. Of all those games coming out in November, this is way up there.
We mentioned last week, BioShock Infinite was our game of show, and it still is. But Skyrim, at least this year, is my game of coming out this year, if you want to say. It looks amazing. So, well, Chris, let's wrap it up there. As always, head over to our website, pnttv.com. Send us emails to play@pnttv.com. Remember, this is a video game show that you get to create the content for. Tell us what games you want us to preview. We're kind of going into this summer lull. Steven hooked us up with Skyrim this week. Let us know what else you want us to talk about. I mean, there were tons of games coming out of E3, so we can talk about more there. And, of course, follow us on Twitter @PlayAndTradeTV or on Facebook at facebook.com/PlayAndTradeTV. So, Chris, you got anything else for this week you want to delve into?
That's about it. I'm playing some Alice right now.
Awesome.
Not finished with Alice. Happy with that. Going good. And I got some RBI baseball, which I cannot win a game.
Nice.
In that game. I unearthed the RBI baseball and still I'm terrible at that. You can't beat it.
Awesome.
I'm giving up.
All right. Well, with that, we'll catch you next week.